I want to jump to actually no, I want to jump backwards for a second because tell me about some of the jobs you had growing up. Because yes, you are deeply enmeshed in the Christian world, but what were some of the gigs you had growing up in that environment? Because you're not just a passive Christian.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
sort of things did you do?
Oh man. Well, I sang on random Christian TV shows. I guess my claim to fame is singing my original America Say Jesus on the Jim Baker show when I was 18.
I feel like I'm gonna do like a Jimmy Fallon prank, but I have video of that for
Oh,
people. I don't even know if this is gonna work on this live stream. We're gonna give it a shot. It's a very short clip, but here is you singing, I believe, on Jim Baker's show. I think that's it. But yeah, you could see the
yep.
Jim Baker logo on the bottom there. But
Hmm.
you were singing like music that you had written on his show, which obviously Jim Baker has a reputation as a grifter of many kinds.
Yep.
But obviously you were a believer when you were doing that. So yeah, tell me about that experience and growing up like that.
Yeah. So my dad was on that show, to, like, uh, for his book America Say Jesus. So my song was written to support the book, which that book, the whole point of it was to get more people to say Jesus, and we thought God would bless us again. And I think my dad actually had a prophetic warning on the cover of that book that said, unless Jesus defines her God, unless America defines her God, which is Jesus, that God would lift the veil of protection on our country and then we would experience bloodshed. And I do feel like a lot of the Christian nationalism really amped up after 9/11, in this kind of the Christian versus Muslim versus the world kind of mindset. And so we really felt like, we had failed as Christians by letting America slip off into, you know, this moral decline, that God would allow such an attack on our soil. Um, but yeah, growing up in that world, I mean, on Jim Baker, I was too young to really remember him and his PTL, his theme park timeshare scandal, and it makes it worse, but I was on his show after he went to prison. So so we knew
Should have
he was a
known.
villain. I know.
But again, you're young, you're doing something that you think is good for your family, good for the gospel message, for Jesus. So I mean, I can understand overlooking that in those situations.
Yeah, it was my moment. It's like, we're just spreading a message. Like, we may not agree on. I remember he gave my dad a sword, like a real sword, right before I sang. And
Oh
I
my
remember
god.
being like, why is he giving my dad a weapon right now? He was selling it for Father's Day.
Oh, normal people use ties and everything, but I've seen him sell food buckets. I've seen him sell a lot of
Mm,
things, not actual swords. That's
yeah.
impressive. Do you still
Yeah.
have it?
No, I think my mom got rid of it a
Damn it.
long time ago. I know. I really wish, because I want to like pull it out, but
That would be awesome marketing. Um, did you also I think you said you worked for, like, Pat Robertson's ministry as well?
I sure did. I worked for CBN as a producer for the show was a 700 Club Interactive, but it aired at the same time slot as a 700 Club. Some of my pieces were on the 700 Club. Um, yeah, I had a I worked there in 2015 and through 2016, so right when Trump comes on the scene, and I was not a Trumper at that point, but a lot of people at CBN were, and I remember I started just questioning certain things that we were doing kind of quietly because I hadn't fully reconciled where I believed on certain things. Like I took the job at CBN. I took a pay cut from my corporate job because I felt like I was doing the right thing, and I was, working for God and working for the kingdom of God and help spreading the gospel or whatever. But I realized all the stories that I was telling, because my job was to go and interview people for the testimonials, like the healing stories or the miracle stories, deliverance, whatever the case. And I felt like we were just kind of painting a narrative that wasn't actually true. Like, if you only ever watched CBN, you would think that anybody who prays for healing gets healed. Anybody who prays to not be gay anymore is not gay anymore. And that reality just wasn't even true. And sometimes like the miracle stories that we would say were miracles were actually had a lot of like doctor and medical involvement. Like I remember I did a story on a 1-year old kid who had cancer, and we said was healed from it. Um, but he also had chemo and had the best doctors and the best medical care. And it was just kind of like, it was just slowly being like, can we say that's a miracle? If
As a
there was,
producer, does anyone ever tell you, like, maybe we should also interview the doctors for this sort of thing? Or did that thought not even cross anybody's mind?
there wasn't, I don't know how much fact checking was going on. Um, Yeah, I remember I did pitch a story. There was he was somewhat well known at the time. He was an openly gay, celibate Christian guy. And my brother was gay, so I was like, "Oh, this is great." And I had pitched a story of like, "Well, we should show people like not everyone who asks God to make them straight does it happen to." And really, I didn't believe it happened at all. But I'm just like, some people are choosing this, and I think this is more realistic, and this could really encourage people that blah blah blah. And I remember I got shot down so fast. They were like, "Well, I don't know, something along the lines of like that's not the gold standard testimony, and like people really want to believe that they can be healed, and that's not really encouraging if like
We're the 60 Minutes of Christianity, damn it. We
yeah."
cannot allow that to air. So now that where are you on this deconstruction journey now? You're still a believer, but like, where are you in that? What are your thoughts about religion? Not to pick a fight, not to debate you
Yeah,
on this, but just so we understand where you're at now.
sure. So I still love the teachings of Jesus. I would still say I'm a Christ follower. Um, I still have some spiritual experiences. I don't feel the need to defend my beliefs like I once used to, and I don't feel the need to convert anybody. I'm much more, I believe God is so much bigger than the evangelical God, in my understanding. And I also hold my beliefs very loosely. And that's like when I say like a true faith in my book, to me, that means like faith is admitting that you don't know stuff. Like it's admitting that like faith is the opposite of certainty. And I've kind of let the certainty go. Evangelicalism is a very black and white ideology. There's no room for nuance or binary. And so I just hold my beliefs very loosely, and I'm open to knowing I could easily be wrong, which is why I don't feel the need to be like, this is what I believe and this is what everyone should believe because I know that I know that I know that I'm right, because I really don't
If
at
you
the
had
end
a
of the day.
sword, that would be so much more convincing.
Oh, I know. I need the Solomon Jim Baker
Yes.
sword.
What do you when you make videos now, and I've seen your videos on TikTok where a bunch of them go viral, what makes for parody? What makes for good right parody with that when you watch it, whether it's like a Harrison Butker commencement address or whatever it is, what makes you think, "Oh, this is something I got to make fun of in whatever way I can?"
Um, it just depends. Honestly, some of the world right now is making it really hard to do satire because it's like so extreme already. Um, but yeah, anytime I see, I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of hypocrisy in American evangelicalism and Christian nationalism that is really easy to shine a light on. Um, and I think to me, I think humor is an easier pill to swallow. And I think it can disarm people. And hopefully that message will come through to the people that need to recognize some of the hypocrisy in their life. But as far as like choosing it, it's really just kind of depends on the moment. If I see, the Harrison Butker thing was just so comical. Like he's literally speaking to a bunch of women. I mean, men too, but there are women there who graduated and want to start careers. And he's like, I know you really just want to be a wife though. And it's like, that is so stupid. And so then what I do is I take what they say and then just turn up just make it slightly more extreme, which is basically the same message, but you
Which
just
is
say it.
very hard to do at this point.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, Trump MAGA is really killing satire, but
And what sort of comments do you get when you're making these videos, especially from Christians? Like, what is their response to a lot of the stuff that you're making? I'm sure you hear from them.
yeah. Oh yeah, they definitely make themselves known. It depends on the Christian. I have a lot of moderate, more progressive Christians that agree and are not fans of how Trump and nationalism is, hijacking the faith. Conservative Christians, they would tell you I'm not a Christian, that I'm leading people to hell, and that I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing and a false teacher. And I've been called the Antichrist, not just a Antichrist, like the big one with a capital A.
Congrats.
I thank you. Yeah, I kind of found that as a compliment, like a
Yeah.
little progressive to think that the Antichrist could be a woman. Um, I get called demon, satanic, a Jezebel. My favorite one, I think, was I was called the soulless reincarnation of the fallen Nephilim.
That's like
That
hyper specific
it
right
was very
there.
specific. I was
Damn.
like, I appreciate that creativity.
Yeah.